Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about a common way to propagate succulent leaves. This method involves using soil, and it's one of the easiest ways to propagate your succulent leaves. So all you really need to have today is a terracotta dish or any other kind of pot or holding situation where you can put soil in it. I prefer the terracotta pots because they're really cheap and they tend to hold a little bit more moisture, which is important for developing succulent leaves, but you can use whatever you'd like. Today I'm going to be using a smaller one so I can show you on a smaller scale how this works. What you're also going to want is a succulent that you would like to be propagating. I'm choosing this Graptosedum because this thing grows like crazy, and right now, because it was in too much sunlight, it's got a little bit of burn going on, as you can see. So there's lots of ugly leaves that I can utilize in order to propagate and also make this plant look a little prettier. Now, often people say that you should only use really healthy succulent leaves for propagation. In my experience, it doesn't really matter how healthy or unhealthy the leaves are as long as they're still plump. And that's important because you can use this method to not only keep your succulents looking beautiful, but also to bring new life to succulent leaves that otherwise would be just dying, shriveling up, and falling off. So let's get started. Alright, so to get started, you're going to want to take your terracotta pot and fill it with succulent soil first. So let me go ahead and do that. We have the succulent soil in this terracotta dish, this little pot, and I'm just going to even it out. I'm not compressing it, but I'm spreading it out. Now the next step is to take your succulent that you're going to be propagating off of, and you're going to want to find a good leaf. So this I wouldn't suggest using because it's all shriveled up. There's not much plumpness to it. It doesn't look healthy enough. It doesn't necessarily matter if it's healthy enough, just that it's got some plumpness. So I'm going to be taking off one of these bottom ones. This one's a little bit shriveled, but it's actually still more succulent-like, and so I'm going to be using this, and I'm going to take a few of them. And if the succulent leaf doesn't come off easily, don't force it. It should really only take a small twist in order for it to come off if it's ready. So I got 3 leaves here to show you today, and I'm going to put those to the side. I'm going to put my pot back over here. We have our soil, we have our leaves, and this is a really simple way to propagate. So this is like foolproof. Easy peasy. So what you do is you take your leaf, you sort of look at the orientation of the leaf. Is this end facing up or down? And then you're going to want to place it in the dirt with this face down in the dirt, because this is the end that it forms roots from, if you can see. It's very important that this is facing downwards. So in this case, it can go either way because this is a flat succulent leaf. So I'm just gonna gently push that into the dirt. As you can see, it's face down but not completely covered because we still need this portion of the leaf to get sunlight. And don't worry, this leaf will plump back up after we start watering this. For right now, it's looking a little bit shriveled, but it's not entirely shriveled. As you can see, there's still a little bit of bounce to it. So that's why we're using this one, and this should give it some new life. And you want to make sure that you're about a thumb's width apart from each of these succulents, because once they start growing roots, these roots are very small and they're very thin and they can tangle easily, and we would rather not have to deal with that. So I'm going to go ahead and, since there's only 3 of them, place them a little bit further away. But if you were to be planting with a whole bunch of succulent leaves, you wouldn't want it like right next to each other like that. You'd probably want it more like that distance. And this one, because this one is kind of facing upwards, I'm going to actually lay it down and just put it gently in there and just cover the end of it. The soil being moist really activates that end of the succulent leaf to start making roots. So it's really important that it's touching the soil and it's almost semi under the soil, but you don't want it to be like that, because then there's no sunlight getting to the actual leaf, which is another important part of growing a plant. Once you have it like this, you are good to go. You're going to want to place this in somewhere that gets bright indirect sunlight, or direct sunlight but not hot direct sunlight. So if you're in Arizona like I am, or in the Southwest, you're not going to want to place this right outside, right in the sunlight. You're going to want to put this in an indirect sunlight area outside, especially during the hotter months, because these are really sensitive leaves and you're going to want to make sure they're staying cool. I almost would recommend in the summertime to bring these inside because this is not really their growing season. and to have this in a cooler environment. But if you live anywhere else in the United States, Midwest, East Coast, you're probably going to have just a fine time propagating these any time of year. Maybe not winter outside, but I can imagine spring, summer, and some parts of fall would be just fine. Make sure that this is in a relatively cool place, a place that's under 100 degrees. So placing it in a windowsill is a great idea. Placing it outside where it gets sunlight for like 8 hours of the day is a great idea. You just want some light to help that growth, as well as somewhere that isn't too hot that it's going to burn the leaves. As for watering, you have two options here. When a succulent is grown, most people suggest you use one of these, and I agree, because this is important because you want to be able to get the root of the adult succulent. Succulents as adults don't take in water through their leaves. You have to water at the root. This you can use with adult succulents, but you have to spray directly at the root in order for it to work. Otherwise, it's not going to do anything for your succulent, because spraying adult succulent leaves is useless. And in fact, it can be detrimental, especially if it's in the sunlight, because it can add to burn. The water heats up and evaporates off of the plant, and for some reason that causes quite a lot of burning, probably because the water heats up so hot. Just make sure if it's an adult plant, you're spraying at the roots. Now for this instance, you can use this and spray directly where the little root head is going to be. But I suggest using a spray bottle or using your hose on a mist. What you want is to get this whole first layer saturated, and you want to prevent it from completely drying out. Completely drying out is fine, but you don't want it to happen all the time. So I suggest spraying it all over, getting that first like 1-inch layer saturated, but not like sopping wet, definitely more of a moist, and you want to keep that going throughout the growth phases until your succulent leaf begins to shrivel up and there's a pup. That's all the information I have on how to propagate succulents from soil. Take a look. For those of you wondering, as I wrap up this video, I will be placing this in a place where it is not getting as much sunlight because it is getting burnt. And I'm going to be trying to place it in a location with birds that live in my backyard can't see it because they've been snacking on it, which, you know, is good for the birds, but not good for this plant. I will be trying to nurse this thing back to a better state of health. It's not necessarily unhealthy, but it's not the best shape that it could be in, and I want to get it back there because I love this one. Look at this thing, it's beautiful. This is a California Graptosedum, or California Sunset Graptosedum. People call it different things. So overall, I hope this video was informative and helpful for you. Please leave a comment down below if you like this video. If you have any comments, questions, recommendations, I'd love to hear them down below as well. Give this a thumbs up, give it a thumbs down. If you have a thumbs down, please let me know. I love constructive criticism, and I'd love to know how I can make my videos better. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.